This is teaching for women, so I'm going to be talking about Charlie Kirk. He's all over social media. What happens? A young man who lost his life, very well known in the public eye for his political beliefs, his religious beliefs. Now his wife is a widow and his children are fatherless. And may God have mercy on his soul. He had many, many followers, many followers. And this is more of a warning to women of faith. I mean, right now, it's on a lot of people's minds. There have been people that have said that because of what happened to Charlie, they're going to start taking their faith seriously. They're starting to be pricked. And praise Yah for that, that He is pricking their hearts. This is a warning. Some of you believe that Charlie was a great man, a great servant to Jehovah. But what does our Bible say? Romans 13, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but Jehovah. The powers that be are ordained by Jehovah. What was Charlie known for in his political beliefs? Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but Jehovah. The powers that be are ordained by Jehovah. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same, for he is the minister of Jehovah to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain, for he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Again, Charlie was known for his political views. We are not to rail against the government. It has been ordained by Jehovah. Those that rail against the government rail against Jehovah. And many of you will still believe that Charlie was a great man. But he didn't follow scripture. He didn't follow the Bible. He didn't follow what the Messiah preached, what he came to do, what was prophesied of the Messiah. The mercy that Yeshua came to do in Luke 1, verse 72, was to give us the covenant at Horeb. What was prophesied by Moses in Deuteronomy 18, verse 15 through 19. What was prophesied in Isaiah 42 to magnify the law and make it honorable. John the Baptist would pave the way for the Messiah coming in the spirit of Elijah, that would give him the law at Horeb, the same covenants that the Messiah would give us, that he fulfilled in Matthew 22, verse 37 through 40, where all the law and prophets hang on those two commandments. May Jehovah have mercy on that man and his family. The church failed Charlie. The church failed his family. They've turned the grace of God into lasciviousness. Jude chapter 1 verse 4. The ungodly men. Woe to the pastors who scatter his flock. Jeremiah 23. Teaching burden of the Lord. 1 John chapter 5. For this is the love of God, to keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous or not burdensome. For his son who came in the Father's name, Yeshua, not Jesus. Jesus is the counterfeit. He's the counterfeit Messiah in Revelation 13, 2 Thessalonians 2, who has elevated himself to be the Most High, who came in his own name and authority, John 5:42, verse 43. He did not come in the Father's name. Jesus did not, the Jesus of the church did not do the will of God. He did not fulfill what was prophesied. He destroyed the law and the prophets in Matthew 5. Yeshua, the true Messiah, was given all authority. He came in the Father's name. Name means character. He did the Father's will. He fulfilled what was prophesied. He nailed the handwriting of ordinances that was against us to this stake in Colossians 2:14, the sacrificial law, and he magnified the law and made it honorable. Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, quoting Deuteronomy chapter 6, fulfilling what was prophesied in Deuteronomy 18, giving us what was desired at Horeb in Exodus 17, what they thirsted for, the life-giving water, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and 5, the Ten Commandments. He gave us his second commandment because he desired mercy over sacrifice and the knowledge of God over burnt offerings, to love your neighbor as thyself, to do righteous judgment, judge by the Ten Commandments, do no unrighteousness in judgment, do not be respecters of persons or you commit sin, but rebuke all that believe in Jehovah, that are breaking the covenants, teaching them to keep the commandments, keeping the commandments so they're great in the kingdom of heaven, Matthew 5. John 14:12, Yeshua says, him who believes on me, the works that I do, he will do also in greater works. If you love me, keep my commandments, and I pray to the Father to send you another comforter, the Spirit of truth. Charlie did not keep the Ten Commandments. He did not keep Jehovah's rest, his sign between him and his children, dawn Saturday to dawn Sunday. He did commandments of men over commandments of Jehovah. He had idols, the sin unto death. In 1 John chapter 5, little children, keep yourself from idolatry. Those that do idolatry in Deuteronomy chapter 5 and Exodus 20 hate Jehovah. They hate him. I'm going to read you some scripture that I just quoted to you for you to go read because I know you're not going to go read it. I know this message is not going to be taken. Many people are going to hate this message. Chapter 1, verse 72. Yeshua, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenants, the oath which he sware to our fathers Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hands of our enemies, might serve him without fear in holiness and righteousness before him in all the days of our life. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenants, the covenants that his son was sanctified in, the covenants he was prophesied to give us. Daniel chapter 9, verse 4. And I prayed unto the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenants and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. Daniel 9 speaks of our Messiah, the mercy that he would perform, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. Verse 27 of Daniel chapter 9, and he shall confirm the covenants he was prophesied to give us with many for 1 week. In the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblations to cease, and for the overspreading of the abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Chapter 7, verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, that keepeth covenants and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him, he will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and judgments which I command thee this day to do them. Chapter 18, what Moses prophesied that the Messiah would come and do. Verse 15, the Lord thy God will rise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee of thy brethren, like unto me, unto him you shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And the Lord said unto me, they have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will rise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth. And he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, and it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, Jehovah, Yahushua, Jehovah salvation, Yeshua salvation, I will require it of him. Moses prophesied that the Messiah would give us what was desired at Horeb in the day of assembly, give us commandments, and whatever Jehovah spoke through him and commanded us to keep, we are to keep it, because he's going to require it of you. I will require it of him. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 2, the Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. The Lord made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us who are all of here alive this day. The Lord talked with you face to face out of the mount in the midst of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you at the time to show you the word of the Lord. For ye were afraid by reason of the fire, and went not up into the mount, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Thou shalt not have thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them. For I am the Lord thy God. I am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children, and unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Keepeth the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God has commanded thee. The Lord thy God commanded us to keep it on the seventh day, not Sunday. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughters, nor thy manservants, nor thy maidservants, nor thy ox, nor thy ass, nor any of the cattle. Honor thy father and thy mother, as the Lord thy God has commanded thee, that the days may be prolonged. The first commandment with promise in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 3. And that it may go well with thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. He lists the 10 Commandments. Verse 22, these words the Lord spake unto all your assembly. Deuteronomy 18, the people were to hearken unto him, and he would give all that was desired at Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear this great voice any more, that we die not. These words the Lord spake unto all your assembly in the mount of the midst of the fire of the cloud and the thick darkness with a great voice. And he added no more, and he wrote them on 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. Verse 28, and the Lord heard the voice of your words when you spake unto me. And the Lord said unto me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people, which they have spoken unto thee. They have well said all that they have spoken. Deuteronomy 18, we just read it. The capital P prophet that would come in Jehovah's name, his son, Yeshua, was prophesied to give us the covenant at Horeb. He fulfilled that in Matthew 22, verse 37 through 40, where all the law and prophets hang on those 2 commandments. To love God with all your heart, soul, and mind. He quoted Deuteronomy chapter 6 right after Deuteronomy chapter 5, fulfilling what was prophesied, verse 5 of Deuteronomy chapter 6, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when they sitteth in thy house, when they walketh by the way, and when they lieth down, and when they rises up. Deuteronomy chapter 6 is all about Jehovah's 5th commandments. The first commandment was promised in Ephesians chapter 6. To honor your father and your mother. The promise that came with that is that you would have a long life, prolong the days of their life. And verse 25, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he commanded us. Luke 1 verse 72 and 73. I'm going to read it again. To perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenants. Keeping covenants and mercy with those who love him, who keep the commandments. The oath which he sware to our fathers Abraham that that he would grant unto us, that we being delivered out of the hands of our enemies might serve him without fear in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. Righteousness. And it will be our righteousness to keep all these commandments with the Lord that God has commanded thee. Yeshua's first and great commandment to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy might, keeping the commandments in our heart, teaching them to our children. It will be your righteousness. Giving others mercy, loving their neighbors. Love the neighbor as thyself, according to scripture, the royal law in James chapter 2, verse 8 and 9. Fulfill the royal law, you do well. Love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. It quotes. Yeshua quoted Leviticus 19, verse 15 through 18, to do righteous judgments. Do no unrighteousness in judgment. Don't rebuke your neighbor for commandments of men, but rebuke your neighbor for breaking the commandments. Matthew 15, what Yeshua rebuked the Pharisees for. They did unrighteous judgment, rebuking the disciples for unwashed hands, traditions of men. Yeshua said, why do you transgress my Father's commandments by your tradition? You flatter him with your mouth, but your heart is far from him. They didn't have the commandments written on their hearts. From what comes from your heart is what you speak. First John chapter 2, verse 3 and 4, and this is how we know him. when we keep his commandments. And him who says he knows him and keeps not his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. The Bible warns you there's going to be wolves in sheep's clothing. There's going to be pastors that scatter his flock, false prophets. Yeshua warns you, do not be deceived. He tells you how to believe on him in John 14:12. Him who believes on me, the works that I do, he will do also. If you love me, keep my commandments. Abide in my love as I've abided in my Father's love, for this is the love of God, to keep his commandments. And his commandments aren't grievous. His Son gave us his Father's commandments. He kept his Father's commandments. He did the will of God. He was righteous. The commandments will be our righteousness. The church has failed Charlie. The church failed Charlie and his family. And may Jehovah have mercy upon his soul. And may Jehovah have mercy on his wife and his children. May Jehovah open their eyes to the deception so they are no longer deceived. Your pastors do not teach you the cause of why there is widows and the fatherless. She sits a queen. She will not suffer the loss of children. She will not become a widow. He gave her room to repent, and she repented not. Come out of her, my people, and do not suffer her plagues. The land of the drunkards. Isaiah 28. There's no place clean. It's a time of refreshing, but they would not hear. Acts 3, the refreshing of the holy covenants in Acts 3, verse 18 through 23. And whoever does not listen to that prophet, Jehovah's going to destroy from among the people. Keep the Ten Commandments, the covenant his son was sanctified in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 29. Do not tread underfoot the Son of Man and count the covenant he was sanctified in and call it an unholy thing and sin despite onto his spirit of grace by turning it into lasciviousness, unbridled lust, wantonness, shamelessness, that you can come before the Lord shameless in your sin because you have favor, the doctrine of devils. For the grace of God that has appeared to all men in Titus 2, it's appeared to every man of this planet. It was a free gift. You did not have to earn it because it's been given to all men of this world, teaching them, his spirit of grace, teaching them to deny ungodliness, which is sin, the transgression of the law. All the law and prophets hang on Yeshua's two commandments in Matthew 22, refreshing the holy covenant, the 10 commandments. Sin is the transgression of the covenants, the 10 commandments. He did not change the Sabbath day. He hallowed it. He blessed it. His sun rose on the Sabbath day. He did not rise on Sunday. Matthew 28, when it was yet dark before the dawning of the first day of the week, he had already risen. He died midweek, Daniel 9, we just read it. See sacrifice midweek Wednesday. He gave them the sign of Jonah. He would be in the earth 3 days and 3 nights. He rose on the Sabbath. You cannot get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday night, Friday evening, to before the dawning of the first day of the week, Sunday. It's a day and a half. And whatever that prophet spoke in Jehovah's name, whatever he said in Deuteronomy 18, if it did not come to pass, we should not fear him. He would have been a false prophet. So it's not just an estimated time. No, he was in the earth 3 days and 3 nights, and he rose on the Sabbath, as he said he would. That is why he's Lord of the Sabbath. He healed on the Sabbath. He went in the synagogues and preached on the Sabbath. Hebrews 4, verse 9, that rest, and you look it up in the Strong's, means Sabbath. There remains a Sabbath to Jehovah's people. Strive to enter into it. Do not take after those who failed to enter into his Sabbath, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness. Hebrews 3. For they could not enter into his rest for unbelief. Disobedience is unbelief. Keep the Ten Commandments and eat clean. Isaiah chapter 65 and 66. When the Lord returns with fire to plead with all flesh, with his whirlwind, the 144,000. Those who think that they're so holy, so righteous, that say, don't stand by me, I'm holier than thou, or smoke under Jehovah's nose that burns all day, Isaiah 65. When he returns with fire in Isaiah 66. Those that have swine's flesh in their vessels standing behind a tree, their Jeremiah 10 Christmas tree, eating their Christmas ham, filling their vessels with swine's flesh, and abominations are going to be destroyed along with the mouse. End time prophecy. Do not follow after man, follow after Yeshua. We are to be set apart. We are to walk like he walked, keeping his Father's commandments as he kept his Father's commandments. We are no longer under the sacrificial law. For his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He nailed the handwriting of ordinances in Deuteronomy 31. Moses wrote with his hand in a book that was a witness against them to the cross. And he fulfilled what was prophesied by all the prophets in the Old Testament, Isaiah 42, magnifying the law, making it honorable. We're to rebuke with our mouth instead of stone, teaching others to keep the commandments, keeping the commandments so we are holy. Again, I said it before, most people are going to still believe that Charlie, his followers, was a man of God. He was a good servant of Jehovah. But Charlie was deceived. He was blind by his idols. He had a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. Romans 10. He was ignorant of Jehovah's righteousness and had established his own. This is a warning to women to not be deceived. So you will not be a widow, and your children will not be fatherless. Romans 13. Read the whole chapter. I'm going to read more of it to you. Verse 5. Wherefore you must need be subject not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are Jehovah's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, Yeshua's second commandment. For he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. Leviticus 19:15 through 18, teaching others to keep the commandments, rebuking sin. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet, the commandments. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this, saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law, and that knowing the time that now it is high time to wake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Let us walk honestly as in the day, not in rioting and drunkenness, pride, not in chambering and wantonness, not in strife and in envying. But put you on the Lord Yeshua Messiah, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. Leviticus 19:15, you shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty. James 2, verse 8 and 9, do not be respecters of persons, or you commit sin. But in righteousness thou shalt judge thy neighbor. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people. Neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. Ezekiel 3, I am the Lord. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge, forgiving 70 times 7 against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Wake up, people. Wake up. What happened to Charlie is a tragedy. The man that did that is an evil man taking the life of a young man. Please take this warning. Those that are followers of Charlie, please take heed to this. He had a zeal for God, 100%. But his walk, he didn't preach the covenants. He didn't preach the refreshing of the covenants at Horeb. He didn't preach the gospel of good things, the glad tidings of good things. He didn't give people the life-giving water, how to receive life, entering into covenant, keeping the commandments, teaching others to love their neighbor as thyself, fulfilling the royal law, rebuking sin out of so they don't suffer sin upon them. And some people are going to want to rail against the government. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Jehovah. The powers that be are ordained by Jehovah. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Take heed, women.